Hello everyone and welcome to your show Around Kuwait. This is your host Abdulaziz Darwish. As usual in our show, we're shedding the light more about the latest events and even occasion happening in our lovely country state of Kuwait. And also in our episode we have a distinguished guest who's gonna join us. We'll talk about their aspect and even their artwork. And before we start, I would like to greet our walking crew and also my colleague Hiba. Hello Hiba, and happy to see you today.
Hello Abdulaziz, and a great welcome to all of the viewers who are watching us today in a new episode of Around Kuwait. As usual, we have great topics and so many things to be discussing during the episode itself. And of course, when we're talking about that, Abdulaziz, as usual, and especially in today's episode, we're going to have two distinguished guests. We're going to talk more about them when it comes into their work, their creative space, the more of, let's say, in trying to create something very great in that matter, and something that's more realistic and related to, let's say, connecting art, architect, and many, of course, in details through this today's episode and interview.
And today I would like to welcome two pioneers, architect and artist. So we have Razan Al-Sarraf, and she is curator, educator, and even an architect is Hassan Ali. Hello everyone and welcome to our show Around Kuwait.
Hi, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure
So
to
of
be
course, we're really happy to have you both, and we're really delighted to know more about the great work that you're working and dealing with. So of course, at the beginning, we'd like to start with both of you. Tell us more about, let's start with, how did you actually guys meet, having an architect, having an artist? Like, how did you find your path all together when it comes into that?
How did we meet?
We're making art together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So art gather everybody.
Yeah. Lots of improv art actually. It's like we would pass a paper back and forth between us and just see what happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at that time, when you passed through the papers and you are architect, you are also an artist. So when you create your theme, so who already created the name?
So basically, to provide some context for the project, we at the National Council, we came up with an open call competition. We invited everyone in Kuwait who was interested in art and creating mural arts, and to participate in this project. And we chose Al Masail area in Kuwait to launch this project.
Yes.
And we got a lot of entries, very interesting ideas, and we ended up choosing 10 of them to launch the project.
Yes.
And we knew that one of the projects had to be a collaborative mural, where everybody in the community would be able to come have a brush and just paint with the artist. And
Yes, and to be honest, let me just interrupt here. Al Masail area is where I actually live.
Yes.
And I've seen some of the work being
nice.
presented recently. Like, I've seen 3 ladies in the morning.
Yes.
And they were standing near, there was a mosque, and then they're posting their work and trying to deal with it. And I was heading to work and I was like, I want to go back, I just want to go back and see what's happening. But unfortunately, I was, as usual, don't want to be late on my colleagues. So I had to, let's say, just drive and think about them. And once I'm done in the morning today, I saw them, the piece of the work, and I was like, wow. They are trying to create some art, so it's a quite a coincidence to have you here and to talk with it, So it's very interesting to see that, Hassan and also Razan. Tell us more about, as you just said, you're collaborating with artists in that matter. So tell us more from you as an artist, from your own perspective, as a woman, because to be honest, I've seen 3 women being there with the spotlight at night, keeping the space over there and trying to create the art itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was an incredible opportunity that Hassan offered for me to come in and do the mural. We did a giant Palestinian olive tree, basically, that came out from both sides of a 12-meter wall. It's on the Hawal, which is like the electricity substation, basically, so the idea came in as a form of solidarity to everything that's happening right now in Gaza and Palestine. And we wanted to share some form of hope or like a symbol for that resistance. So the title of the piece is called Roots of Resilience and Resistance.
Resilience.
And Resistance.
Resistance.
So the roots of the olive tree come down onto the ground, the olive tree spreads all the way up to the sky, and then it increases over until the abyss, basically.
Yes.
And around it are Palestinian local wildflowers. So we had irises, chamomile, za'atar, jarjir, all kinds of different things that grow in Palestine. And the collaborative aspect was the most fun, to be honest, because I drew the piece, but I didn't even paint it yet. I was mostly like mixing colors and giving people cups with colors and brushes, and they started painting the piece themselves.
Yeah.
So, Hassan, how about the working crew? How many people are working in this project?
Well, the core team is 5 people,
Okay.
but we also went into collaboration with Al Mubadir team,
Okay.
which is a volunteer group based in Lusail.
Okay.
And mashallah, they have a lot of people, so they really helped us out.
Yeah, so it's really great to see that. And I mean, the aspect itself was really great. Picking the olive tree itself that resembles the time, because we know that olive trees take really long time for it to grow and to stand and to be presented when it comes into the amateur, and to have that being representative for Palestine itself is something very close to the case itself, and it shows the identity of the country. And you know, there is always a saying when it comes into olive trees, like they say, if olive trees knew what will happen to their owners, they wouldn't, let's say, just stand there. So it's more of a phase, you know, when you're translated into Arabic and English. So having that said, talking more about the art itself, like how do you discuss the matter of what do you actually draw, how do you actually present it, especially when it comes into the case, as you just said, that you are focusing on more now in the project itself?
Yeah, for me, it usually starts with the purpose, like why am I making art? I don't want to just make things that look beautiful or are there for decoration. I think it has to have like meaning. So the first thing we thought about was the fact that all of this was happening right now. A lot of innocent people's lives are being taken. You know, it's an act of like colonization and genocide. So the thing we felt that was the most substantial that we could do in reaction to that was this project. So we started with that idea. That's usually how I approach most of my projects too. So it's always about land and landscape and people's interactions with land. So this came out of that, and it became a piece that we wanted to share. And having it be a mural, not just a piece that ends up in a gallery or a museum or somebody's house, having it be in a public space where people can look at it every day was super important.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And also, Hassan, you mentioned you are 5 teams. I need to know the names and the roles. I know, like, you are cooperating with each other. If
Well,
you don't mind.
there's the head of the project, Abdelaziz Al-Mazidi.
Okay.
There's also the head of the team, which is Abdullah Yassin.
Okay.
I think you had him on the show, or maybe a different show on KTV2. And we also have engineer Dalal Faris, and also
Okay.
engineer Al-Zahra, and then myself.
And
Razan is one of the artists. And we collaborated with 10 artists, and Razan is one of the
so
artists.
5 of your side and 10
From the architectural side, yes, from the National Council.
And
Yes.
also, because from the NCCAL and as an artist collaborating with each other, I know every time you have to meeting for progress, right? Like progress meeting.
Yeah.
So how do you guys meeting each other? Like you have like a weekly meeting, every day's meeting?
All sorts of kinds of meetings. It's just basically we hang out, whether it's at work, whether it's after work, but talking and discussing the ideas, bouncing ideas off of each other, it really helps to like develop the idea and bring it
Up to
to a
date,
mature,
let's say.
to a mature state.
To win the good result.
Yes, indeed, indeed. So as they say, the soul of the artist represented through art itself. So art is very important because it sends the message, and we have that. A lot of people, they are tend of, let's say, being more of a visual educator. People would see the art itself, and then they immediately would understand. We have so many people who like to try to, you know, more of an investigation. What is the message that is behind the art itself? So talking more about that in details, talking about, you know, trying to have the idea, trying to implant it and work with it is something very, we don't want to say difficult, but very challenging, because you have time and you have the weather. If it's dusty, if it's rainy, and mashallah here in Kuwait, we have all 4 seasons in one day. So you can imagine the amount of stress, of course, that you could live through as an artist, and of course as people in the community who would like to be part of it. So tell us more about the progress when it comes into that side, especially the artist side, and trying to modify and of course present the work itself.
Yeah, it's been a ride. Like it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of challenges. We spent a day painting, and then the roller broke, and we just couldn't get another one. The next day we drew on chalk, and then it rained. The third day we had multiple people coming in, and people of all levels of talent. So there were people that were enthusiastic about painting for fun, that were painting on the mural, and people that were more experienced in painting that were painting on the mural. So there were things that were happening in the mural that were out of our control too.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have 2 weeks to go over things. So I've been going back to edit and like add more elements and work with people that want to finish it together. But it is a challenge. It's fun. It's like a game. You're just like walking around doing things, and then you have something that comes up out of nowhere, and you figure it out together. Thankfully, we have like architecture brain, which is very like structured, oriented, like knows how things work and how to fix things, and the artist brain that can go kind of around corners and around borders, and be a little bit more creative and like on hand. With things. So yeah, it's been fun. We make a good team, I think.
So like a team working together, as a 5 architect and 10 artists, and you're facing too many challenges when it comes to the weather, when it comes to the atmosphere, the day and the night, the lighting, because when the sun rises, when the sun sets, it's even the angle will be different, even the shadows will be different, the light,
colors,
everything will be different. So she told you already you are the brain. So I know like we have to talk too many different projects, and even the working crew telling us we'll talk about فن الثالث project. I know this kind of project we already mentioned before in the off air. We speak more about it, so we need to know about the significance of this project فن الثالث. Hassan.
So at الفن الثالث we wanted to be the link between artists, governmental institutions, and the private sector. And of course, like all the different volunteer groups that exist in different societies. And we created an open platform, open to the public. Anybody with an idea can submit their idea. And we have a team that reviews the ideas constantly and see possibilities of where to apply this kind of art, and how to finance it, and who to talk to, and do all the permit stuff. So we want to take all of that off of the back of the artists, and in order for to create art without boundaries, without limits, fearless art.
Yes, and that's more, let's say, important, is to have that kind of platform to connect everyone, because we do have a really great of people in the market itself, but it's very rare and very important to find the intellectual ones, the ones that you actually need to always, let's say, have them on set and try to connect all together to create something very great. We've always seen that the Kuwait National Council always represent this great opportunity for artists to come and always, let's say, create something new. And even when it comes into the boundaries of the walls that is connected, we've seen up-to-date and new, let's say, drawings when it comes into that. Depends, of course, on the artist and, of course, on the idea itself. So when it comes into such great collaboration, I'm very sure, as you just said, you all as a team sit together, come up with new things, always up to date. So tell us more about these kind of projects. Like, does it go on something annual, or does it, let's say, just happen through a season? As we know, we have, let's say, for instance, February. Does it count as something that, let's say, the KNC would actually feel or think that we need to collaborate with artists to create some piece of art in that matter? Like, how does it operate and work when it comes into that?
Well, because we're architects, we like to look at context, whether it's like historical context of the place, whether it's like the time of the year, as you said, or each site brings each time of the year brings a different challenge. But mostly we like to use art to revitalize areas that lost that spark, let's say.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
That's why. What an interesting topic we spoke with Hassan and Razan. So, dear viewers, we're going to continue our conversation with our distinguished guests, but after this quick break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Of course, we're happy to continue with our guests talking more about a great project that presents when it comes into the collaboration of KNCC, and of course, when it comes into different great artists and architects in that matter itself. We'd like to welcome in the studio again our artist and educator Razan Sarraf, and also our architect Hassan Ali. We're really happy to welcome you all back here, talking more about an artist aspect. We know that when you draw something on a paper, it's something very different than when you come to try to draw it on a wall. And of course it varies when it comes into a small wall and of course as a huge wall. As we just said and mentioned previously on one of the places in Kuwait, talking more about a generator, let's say, wall that was presented in the area. So tell us about this kind of, let's say, we don't want to say it's more of a challenge, but you know, tell us and define about the way when it comes into trying to create the art in that matter itself.
Yeah, it is a challenge, but it is something I have previous experience in, so I kind of expected that it would be difficult. Most of the challenges we had were accessing the wall properly, like our ladders and things that give us height.
Yes.
But in terms of drawing, yeah, there's like different strategies. You can draw like a grid on the piece of paper that you have the drawing on and then just like copy the grid onto the walls. You can just eyeball it, which is what I do, and what I teach my students to do is to just like draw and then go really far and look at it and then think and then go again and then keep drawing. There's the generic moves of just like, you know, holding like your thumb and like doing this.
Exactly.
So
that's a thing.
Like when someone sees you far away, it's like what's happening?
Exactly, yeah. You measure with your thumb.
Now we have the architect view. Like, is this
You're
really?
like, where's the ruler?
You have to try to know.
This is silly.
Where's the laser beam
I mean, this is
and the
something
ruler?
also associated with physics. Like, it is a really strong thing, you know, trying to see
It's
the waves.
perspective, yeah.
So it's a very great way to see that. So Abdulaziz, we can see that it's very difficult for an artist. I know as engineers, you would, let's say, use technology in that matter, and it's more easy for you. But
projector all the way.
Projector all the way. But as a creative artist, now women power here.
Yes.
As a creative artist, we can see that it is something very, let's say, challenging in that matter to try to create something, let's say, more of a way aside from having, let's say, machines and projectors, but more of, let's say, a human print in that matter.
Organic.
Human print in that matter, and even in addition, you mentioned your students. So before you've been in this kind of project, before we're gonna talk more with Hassan, you've been in the challenges, you've been in this experience long time with the walls, with the graffiti, when you draw. So tell us more about your students, your people, you're teaching them.
Yeah.
How is the interaction with the students?
It's great. I learned from them as much as I tried to teach them.
Okay.
In the States, I taught in CalArts, which is the school I graduated from, for a couple of weeks, and I taught them about pigment making and how to make paints from scratch. I was a TA also teaching about drawing, conceptual art, painting, kind of like a foundation drawing class. In Kuwait now I'm doing a mentorship program with visual therapy called Future Creatives, and I'm paired with 2 students for a few months. The students that I'm working with, Lulu and Laura, they're from AIS. They both want to graduate and study art. So they're paired with people that have studied art so they can understand kind of the industry, how to apply for colleges, how to figure out their concepts and everything. So we meet about 2 to 3 times a month, and we're working on a project that will be exhibited actually very soon in March 6th in Promenade Cultural Center.
Nice.
But we have a great relationship. Yeah, we kind of just hang out, but I also make sure there's structure. So I teach them lessons in art history, how to look at conceptual art, color theory, composition, how to draw, how to decide what's important for you to create, thinking about values, thinking about your meaning, your purpose in life, your purpose in being a creative, and how to execute that, how to make that a reality, not just keeping things in your head. Also teaching them how to write about art, because I think that's very important. If you just draw and you can't talk about what you drew, then it doesn't connect as fast or as easy. So yeah, it's been going well so far. The program's almost over, which is very sad. I feel like they're my kids, you know, like I get attached to them.
On behalf of our show around Kuwait, we're sending our gratitude to your students. We'll be watching you for the Around Kuwait show, and they are seeing their mentor and their idol doing something great. I know Hassan for sure he have something in his mind also.
Yes, indeed. So now let's move to you, talking more about an architect, a side and view. Now we've seen, of course, when it comes into the work, of course, the artist that does in the matter of the project itself, but it's very important also for the architects to be aside and of course to be along the road itself when it comes into the project. So to enlighten the audience more about the whole process itself, tell us more about let's say specific details when it comes into you guys being there and presenting the work and monitoring it in that matter itself.
So our role in this project is as facilitators. So there are a lot of permits that we have to get, so a lot of people that we have to contact. We have contractors that bring us paint, that bring us tools, and then we have the artists themselves that need those tools. So we're always like, we're the link between all of those people. And so it's lots of phone calls, lots of meetings, lots of coordination, lots of financial, basically.
Yes. Yeah. So you're like the father here, dealing with everything.
Kind of, yes, kind of like the guys behind the cameras.
Yes, yes, indeed. So I mean, people would see this work being presented, of course, and they wouldn't think about that side. To be honest, mostly they will think that this is something that, say, the artist will be providing. They will bring their tools. So when these things happen, for instance, let's say you've mentioned previously that one of the tools got, let's say, corrupted. You cannot color. You cannot the roll. Itself wasn't, let's say, working in that matter. So when these circumstances happen, like how do you actually deal with it? Like instantly, or let's say, do you reschedule
lots of improvisation,
everything?
Lots of improvisation. It's like you have to come up with easy solutions that you can easily without disrupting the flow of the work. The flow of the work is very important.
Yes, and most importantly, it should never, let's say, get in the way of the cost itself. You know, because sometimes you have a limit.
It's like, this is over budget.
Limit of a budget, and then you are getting over the budget. So we don't want to, let's say, corrupt the budget here.
Exactly. So if I can fix it with a piece of paper, that's way better than fixing it with like a big board.
And that's why we have you, the architects, here. You have to, let's say, always come up with all of this.
Yeah, you have to always know like what are the possibilities and try to pick the most suitable one.
Yes, yes.
And the one to apply it, which is the artist.
Exactly.
I know that usually artists like to participate in this solo exhibition or their exhibit everywhere. Even they are attending some exhibitions. So what about your solo exhibition? You have your solo exhibition. Did you do it before?
I've done it before in the States. I haven't in Kuwait, which I'm excited to get there at some point. I am going to have a duo show in Promenade Cultural Center as part of the residency that I'm working on now. So it's me and another artist, Adil Ashkenani, and we're going to be showing together. But in the works for having a solo in Kuwait, hopefully in the end of this year or beginning of next year.
In addition, excuse me, Heba. For your last solo exhibition, I know if you do any solo exhibition, you have to create too many artworks, maybe the same palette or maybe similar design. What about your last one? What kind of art you created that time?
So my last one was actually my thesis exhibition for grad school. It was in Cal Arts on campus, but I had a gallery to myself. I had drawings, video, sound, and paintings. The concept was pretty specific. It was an event that happened in Kuwait, like a political event that I took photos from and then created drawings out of it, created paintings out of it, kind of built a story, abstracted things, and created landscapes from a moment in time. And then the video was footage that I shot in California to compare to our desert, because there are a lot of relationships between Kuwait and California. The sound piece was a collaboration I did with Azam Hassan, who's a sound producer, musician, designer, who helped a lot with that collaborative project. Along with field recordings and my own kind of sound, sounds from a synthesizer.
Okay.
So the show is called Gharb Gharba Ghabar, basically.
Nice.
And it was, about 12 to 15 pieces, I can't remember. Large scale, from 2 meters to 5 meters up, to a giant video that was projected in the back, and some smaller drawings.
Yes, so I love this kind of sense, Abdulaziz, of an artist who likes to, let's say, have more of, let's say, a comparative when it comes into different kind of culture and countries and trying to, let's say, combine it all together. We're talking more about, let's say, things that we studied, let's say, in college, talking more about comparative literature, but yet again, more of, let's say, comparative art in that specific matter. So it's very great to see that and to have it represented in that matter. So talking to you, Hassan, especially about as we said, architect choosing specific buildings, specific areas to, let's say, remodify them again. When it comes into these areas, especially when we're talking about walls, buildings, some of them, let's say, could be not, let's say, suitable for a certain drawing. Sometimes the urban is actually, let's say, being, let's say, more of a weak urban, not strong as it used to be before. So tell us more about these kind of circumstances, and of course from your own point of view and side of work, how do you, let's say, evaluate that and pick the right area where you actually go and present the art on it itself?
Yeah, well, sometimes the site just comes to us like through through somebody approaches us and says, let's do something with this place.
Yes.
And sometimes no, sometimes we go by and we think that this would be a perfect site for that kind of idea or this kind of idea. But context, in all situations, context is key. So you have to, so for example, in Al Masail, we really encourage the artists there to look at not only the municipal theme colors that for Masail there were like orange and blue, but also like the animals there, the plants,
let's
the
say
history
study the
of
area itself.
Exactly. And also because it's a suburban suburban areas usually are kind of like a goo. They don't have, so it's like you enter it and exit it and it's all the same to you, kind of. It's like they mesh into everything meshes into each other. And we thought that if we have like 10 substations, then we can identify, like, for example, I live next to that substation, I live that next to that. So it's like a kind of like a small, cute solution.
I mean, you're helping me here out because I've seen the Masail as a one-line area.
Exactly.
It's like if I want to go to the cooperative center itself, I mean, I just go immediately straight from my home, straight forward. And one of my friends living in the other side, so I was like, just go straight. So you never know where are you entering. Is this a block, let's say block 5 blocks, they're like, you never know about the blocks, you always think that's one line. So having that said, I mean, yeah, it would help really that to know where you are and exactly now starting to be more, let's say, you know, feeling very special, like I live next to this drawing area, you know.
Yeah, or taking the next right after that kind of.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah.
So it's like a sign for everybody now. It's easy to go there, but more like how people see. I will tell you something. As an architect, as an artist, Hassan and Razan, when you go there and you're driving to Masail, you see your artwork maybe after 10 years more. How does it feel to you?
I mean, I hope it's still there after 10 years.
That's a challenge in Kuwait with the weather.
Yeah, and yeah. I would feel, I mean, I'd be very proud of it, be very happy that I created some kind of a monument or a thing that identifies a space and connects to people. I know when we were painting, there were some kids that came and started painting and they didn't want to leave, and their mom was like, don't worry, you'll see this every time you go to the Jamia. And so like just having that be like a part of someone's childhood, a part of someone's memory of a space, like they put themselves in it and they can continue to see it. That's more of the gratification for me, like helping organize that and helping them like have that experience.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, in the end, you're creating something, let's say, a moment for them. They will always remember that we're been part of it. They're going to remember the year, the time, the feeling itself, and you're going to create something very important and great in these people who have been associated and part of it. Of course, we're going to continue more on our topic, but our dear viewers are going to head to a break and then we'll be back.
We are back to our show again around Kuwait. Dear viewers watching us through the KTV2, we're going to continue our conversation with two distinguished guest pioneers in the field, the architect Hassan Ali and the artist Razan Al-Sarraf. Hassan, I know there's too many projects you're working with Razan and the team, 15 team together. I need to know something about behind the scene. Moments you will not forget, like good moments you had already. I know you all have a chit chat during in the break. Some moments you want to mention, something you don't want to mention. Something you will not forget, both of you. For you, Hassan.
Honestly, like the most memorable thing was the kids.
Okay.
It was like how happy they were, and that kind of energy was really contagious. I think it made everybody happy, and sometimes we as adults we forget how approachable art should be, and kids they approach art without fear. They just like grab the brush and paint.
Nice.
And so I think that also reminded the adults that it's okay to have fun. And that was, to me, I think it was the most precious thing in the whole project. Definitely.
Yes. I mean, it's so beautiful when you say it's okay to have fun.
Yeah.
Because parents are always stressful and they always think about the clothes, especially for the kids.
Yeah.
Not ruin that.
Yeah.
So imagine that giving them that space.
A whole wall, just go
Yes,
crazy. You know?
Yes, it will be something very creative and positive. So one of the questions that we have for both of you is, we know that for you to create something very important and great, you have to have meetings. And in order for you to have meetings, you have to have schedules. And having people working with you in this project, especially with the amount of people, could manage, let's say, difficulty in trying to monitor the time itself. So when it comes into that, dealing with your point of view and your own point of view, dealing with a schedule and meeting and all of the updates, like how do you manage to do that?
Well, it's like we we did not want to put so much pressure on the artists.
Okay.
So we gave them a rough schedule that we need to finish this within 2 weeks.
Yes.
But we don't really, we don't want this to be a stressful, like we don't want time to be a stressful factor in what the
Yeah, like enjoy your time, but
Exactly.
remember you have a due date.
Yeah, but we never like tell them, no, you have 1 day left, you know,
Yes,
it's like
yes,
we never
yes.
do that.
Yeah.
We just like, because like if you need more time, we're gonna manage somehow, but let's get it done.
Yes, and what about you, Razan? Like, does it
Yeah.
work that way? Like, how do you feel about that? I mean, let's say, for instance, you are the one who's responsible for the drawings in detail. So I'm very sure if they're going to direct it, it's going to be with you. So tell us about the pressure here.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, seeing as that this is also like an extracurricular thing that I'm doing,
Yes.
it's not a job. It's
Exactly.
not my, daytime thing that I, have in my schedule. It's been pretty easy, I would say. We spend mostly weekends up there doing the rest of the work, and hopefully next weekend we'll be painting more. The day of, in terms of scheduling, I try to make sure that I organize the drawings of the mural in relation to how many people were coming in and out. So at first we had maybe 10 or 15 people, so it was relatively easy to manage, and then up to 60 came, and then we ran out of brushes, and then I was like, okay, let me figure out a way for people to maybe share something and like be focused on this one spot,
Yes.
and then someone else can go up on the ladder and go there. So it was a lot of just like
And
managing.
then suddenly everything is orange because everybody was picking
Yeah.
it
Yes.
up the orange. It's like, no, stop.
Yeah.
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 Especially if you're dealing with kids, I mean, they wouldn't understand the pressure of trying to, let's say, give a time for another one to paint and draw. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
some
gonna be
adults were
stressful,
annoyed by
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
even adults.
But some adults were like, no, she's doing it wrong. Well, it's like, no kids. Well, I'm like, no, it's like, these are kids. They're the whole point of this thing.
Exactly.
Just let them do whatever, and then we'll just talk to them and guide them. It's okay.
And also, in addition, let's speak about the tools. You mentioned brushes, colors, brushes. We need to know about the type of the colors, the type of the brushes you're doing. You're pointing on her. So you have the
Yeah.
whole thing in your head, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to just to show also the people who's watching us, what about the tool you're giving to the kids and for your team?
Yeah, the main one is a roller, and that's
Okay.
how you get higher spaces and get more color out. Those are for the backgrounds. Then we had thick brushes that are about like 4 or 5 inches, and those are for big spaces. Then we had the 1 and 1.5 inch brushes that were for smaller spaces, and then the tiny 1/4 inch brushes for details. For kids, I gave them the medium to small brushes because I don't think too much detail is necessary, and I also think that big brushes were too heavy for them probably.
Nice.
Then we had buckets that we can cover so we can go back and use the paint again so it doesn't dry up, more practical sense. And then small cups that are disposable for people that are just coming in and out really fast. And giant palettes, and what else? I think my favorite tool is the rubber mallet because we get to open the paint cans and then it's really hard to close with your hand, so I had a hammer and I was just banging on the...
Yeah, when she gave me the list for the tools that she needed, she was like, I need a hammer. I was like, why do you need a hammer?
Yeah.
We're drawing. But she told me about the previous experience that she had, and she learned that we need to close the paint lids with the hammer.
So it's quite of an experience around there. So dealing with the art itself, we know that, as you just said, you have to always, let's say, go further away, look at the drawing itself, and then of course you modify it time by time. So when it comes into that, like, do you actually, let's say, take work with you at home? Let's say, for instance, thinking about it, talking about it in your mind, like recalling what happened, dealing with, let's say, you know what, I should do it more with this angle or this way, adding more color here and there. So that kind of, let's say, of pressure is something, of course, I'm very sure that you take it with you at home. So tell us about that. Like, does it really happen in that matter?
Yeah, definitely. I think about art all the time. So any ongoing projects I have, they're always running like tabs in my brain. I don't take physical things home with me. I like to keep a separation between my workspace and my home and rest space.
Yes.
But I do, so in the studio in Promenade, for example, I have my drawings happening there. I wouldn't take the drawings with me, but I always take a photo of them and then go back home and kind of look at it. And that's a good way to zoom out too. With the mural, I mean, I can't take that home with me, so I would just also take pictures and look at it and think about it. Do a lot of research, like on my phone, figuring out different colors I want to use. I use Procreate on my iPad a lot, and I put colors together and put images together so I can just see them like a mood board. So those are different strategies, I guess, that I do and use. Reading is important for me too, like critical theory and reading art history. So it's not just thinking about the stuff I'm doing, but thinking about how other people thought about their projects before.
I know, like Hassan, sometimes when you deal like with an architect, it's like you are all in the same interest. Like 5 of you, you have to, I know like every certain architect have his own point of view. But when you gather all together, maybe you have one idea. But when you collaborate with an artist with different vision, different techniques, you have to think for one result. How do you see the collaboration between you and Razan and all the people together? Like an architect collaborate with artists.
I mean, I think we complement each other.
Okay.
Just like you said, it's like we have to plan the whole thing, and then we also have to get a sense of the artist, their techniques, and the kind of message they're trying to send and all of that. And we basically try to just provide the right path.
Okay.
The easy path for them just to do what they're doing. It depends on the process. Each artist has a different process.
Yes, I can.
Definitely.
So for فن الثالث we can mention, how was the process that time? We want to see in the field, what did you decide that time? Maybe you have different thoughts, maybe she have different thoughts, maybe you have different options.
Well, as I said, it was a competition, it was an open competition. So we just tried to explain the context, the al-masail, what it is and what we want out of it, what's okay not to do, what's not okay to do. And the rest is up to the let's say the artists themselves. And it was an open call, so like we got the 80 submissions, and then we had like a judging, like let's see, like a committee to review all the art and see the possibility. And sometimes we picked an art not because it's the best, but because it complements the other art.
Okay.
So you have to take a lot of points into consideration while deciding which art goes where. That's also a very important.
And Heba enjoying
decision.
the road.
I mean,
it's all for him is enjoying
it.
it.
It's really difficult. Like when you're talking about that, especially when you see so many great pieces of art being presented as an idea, but yet again, you are trying to complete, let's say, each and different ideas, and trying to, let's say, let go of a certain art is something very challenging and difficult, I'm very sure. So, Razan, when you're talking more about the process, dealing with, as you just said and said previously, actually, that you have a certain budget. Sometimes when it comes into colors, trying to, let's say, avoid having different colors being presented, we can create colors all combined together. So when it comes into that, like, do you actually manage to do that, or do you feel like, you know what, I don't need to mix red and yellow to have orange, but I mean, let's just buy an orange color and just deal with it, because it's going to take more time, you know?
Yeah.
These kind of tricks and hacks, like, do you actually manage to do that on the set itself?
Yeah, definitely. It's always mixing colors. I think they're more fun to be able to control your own mixes. But I did take advantage of the fact that they were sponsored by Jotun, so they had a long list of paints, and I was like, I want this one, this one.
You know
this
what? I'm
one.
just gonna pick the ones that I've never used before. Let's just see it on the wall. Like,
exactly.
Kind of
I had a color palette generally of what I wanted the thing to look like. So
You want
I
to see
chose
your
the
palettes
colors.
also.
Yeah, it's more fun. I mean, we have an opportunity to be able to explore different
Indeed.
ranges of colors, and we needed a lot of paint. We needed about like 46 liters of paint, so it was fun to be able to have like a lot of a big color and then a lot of little special colors.
No, so this is we are very excited to see their future agenda. What about your next projects, Hassan?
Well, we have one project that's very interesting. I don't know if you're familiar with there was like a small controversy, let's say, a few years back, where the National Council's headquarters in Kuwait City, it had a wall that had a mural.
Before it was painting that becomes white.
Exactly. Somebody decided no, this wall is too much. Let's paint it white, and they painted over the mural. So inshallah, we're in contact with the same artists, with the same group, and we want to do a new work of art, just to bring trust back into the institution. Like, if you're an artist, you want your work to still be there. You don't want your art to be just suddenly gone. So yeah, I'm really excited about that project.
Yes, and it's a very great way giving artists an opportunity to represent their self and their work, because in the end, Kuwait was well known when it comes into great artists and very rich in that matter. And we've seen so many different artists being back in the days, and we can see, Abdulaziz, the great development that actually happened through art itself, how great artists do we have, and having that, giving them an opportunity to all be, let's say, combined together, presenting their work, working together, because we know it's a very challenging field itself. Each artist has their own, let's say, ways, method, ideas, and some of them feel that this is something special to me. I would like to share some of what I know, but yet again, I would like to keep some of them all together. So to connect them all together and give them a way for them to, let's say, create something great together is a way to create more of a great community over here. So when we're talking about that, Razan, talking about this kind of community and how important it is for each artist to go together and to have this kind of a relationship in the community itself. I'm very sure maybe you've seen this kind of, let's say, back in the days, let's say, this kind of, let's say, relation. Maybe it's different when it comes into working abroad and being here in Kuwait, but it's a very great opportunity if you agree with me on that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, I mean, community is imperative to any form of creativity and art making and survival in general. I think we can't exist as individuals, and because of, you know, the ways capitalism moves and the ways colonialism moves, we are pushed towards an individualistic society where we think hyper-independence is power and strength, but it really is community that keeps us alive, and community that keeps thoughts and culture and movements and rituals and progress alive. It's what kept me like going in the States, like being away from Kuwait and being away from family and friends. The real thing that kind of grounded me was community, finding other artists, other people that were working within the same ideas and fields, that wanted to collaborate, that wanted to do things together, you know, that wanted to stake it back to the man, you know, kind of. So yeah, that being translated to this side of the world in my life now that I'm back in Kuwait, like, it's definitely a priority. It's in everything that I do. I don't do anything alone. Like everything is done in collaboration with people, with other thoughts and ideas of community.
Yes, and it's more fun, to be honest. Let's say having someone aside and to create that is something very positive. I mean,
Absolutely.
it gives that vibes of there's someone here with me, and to have that is something very great. Don't you agree with that?
I agree for more, and we can say all the times, good times running very fast, Mike.
Exactly.
Our
Very
colleagues
true.
think, and we didn't fill the time. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so proud of you, but for sure we will be here again. We'll talk about next projects, okay?
Sounds
Deal?
good.
Inshallah.
We're
Thank you
ready.
so much for joining us today.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having
much.
us.
So we
Pleasure.
are speaking to Razan Al-Saraf. She is already an educator and creator, and also we speak to also Hassan Ali. He's an architect. They are already sharing with us about their project, what's happening during in some ever governorates in the state of Kuwait. I hope you enjoyed our episode for today. See you next time, and greetings from me and Hiba. Have a good time. See you.